Hi everyone and welcome to the Recruitment Brothers podcast. With an age gap of 17 years and two heavy Swedish accents, we're here to cover everything about, you guessed it right, recruitment.
And now over to the older brother Rickard. Welcome to our podcast. Although recruitment is our focus, we will also talk about sports, business development and leadership. And we will invite some inspiring guests. Let's get straight into it.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the Recruitment Brothers podcast. It's episode 9 and again we have our guest joined here on the podcast. This time we are joined by the Talent and Acquisition and Employer Branding Manager at seQura, more precisely Sharon C. Welcome to the podcast, Sharon.
Thank you for having me, Martin and Rickard. I'm very glad to be here with you today.
How has your day and week been now? It's Q4. Is it a lot now towards the end of the year?
We have quite some momentum happening, but it's towards the end of the year, so we also gotta be like super fast and try to close as many things as possible before Christmas, basically.
Yeah, super. No, but then we're extra happy that you could allow us a spare hour here to join in for this episode. So it will be super fun. I was thinking to begin with, maybe you could give a brief introduction, Sharon, to yourself for our listeners, also for us.
Of course, sure. So my name is Sharon. I am originally from Taiwan. I moved to Barcelona about 4 years ago. I am currently with seQura for more than 1.5 years, and I am here for talent acquisition and employer branding. Mostly, I look after the non-tech positions.
Cool. So it's like commercial positions or?
Exactly. Anything
All
that's
right.
not like product, engineer, data science. Yes.
For those who doesn't know seQura, what is it that you do?
Right. So seQura is a fintech company that's been based in Barcelona for the last 10 years or so. Our bread and butter has been buy now, pay later. But of course, the market is getting quite mature with BNPL. So we are always trying to innovate and we are trying to do more things. Now we have a eyewear product line that's with the subscription plan, and then with education, we have PaaS, platform as a service. We are a startup going to scale up. We are a Spanish company going international. A lot of things happening. Very fun stuff.
Nice.
How do you see the job market now, Sharon, in Barcelona? Like, we are also located there with one office and have some clients there. What is your take on the market?
I would say Barcelona market is quite difficult, especially for expats. It's pretty competitive. I think really if anyone relocate here or like thinking to start a new life here, really needs to be like mentally prepared, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the market is very competitive and you need to be like ready for this battle, right?
Do you feel that you find talent that you need?
It's also quite challenging from our side, but yes, we eventually, of course, we find talents that we need. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Super. And the background to this episode, of course, we have had a little brief talk before this, Sharon, and the focus of this episode will be around working internationally. It will be about working on not only different countries, but also different continents and even different industries. And when we heard your story about this, we immediately thought that this is spot on. You have a very interesting story around all of these 3 topics that I mentioned. So maybe you can give our listeners a little bit of background to your journey, both privately, but also career-wise that you've been going through.
Sure. Let me try to be concise because it could be a bit long. But basically, I am born and raised in Taiwan, and then I moved to the US when I was quite young, like 13, basically. I completed most of my education and developmental years in the US. I did a little exchange program for 1 year in Utrecht, the Netherlands, and then I fell in love with the world, they say caught the bug. And so then I did my postgrad in Switzerland for hospitality study. When I was doing university in the US, I was doing psychology and social behavior. And then when I did postgrad, it was like to be closer to the world. So it was like a hospitality study in Switzerland. I started my career in Dubai in a luxury hotel in HR. And then, of course, I did like 360-degree HR, and then I had a focus with talent acquisition, always in-house. I went back to Taiwan. I had a reverse culture shock. Like, this is my language, this is my culture, this is my country, but I am familiar, but not familiar enough with it. That was an interesting experience of 5 years, And the first job I went back to Taiwan was my first experience in a startup environment. And that's kind of like how things are. After 5 years, I moved to Spain, and here I am. And here I am with all of you. I don't know if there's more details I can give, but I try to be concise.
Wow. Let everything sink in. Like, what a journey. All those countries.
Spain will be the sixth country that I live in now. And then they all speak quite different languages, I would say.
How is the Spanish today?
Spanish is not workable. It works, but it's not like professional, right? Like I will probably like make enough mistakes that doesn't make me look too professional. So I'm not entirely comfortable with it. But like I would say, like internally, if I must, I can manage. Yes.
Okay. Cool. And what more languages is it that you speak apart from Spanish and English?
So Chinese Mandarin would be my native tongue, right? Coming from Taiwan, that's what I grew up in. And then like American English, if I must specify, is what I learned to catch while my study years. And then Spanish, because I was like, I want to be, in the global market. I need to have another language. It was quite a practical choice, to be honest. It's like relatively easy to pick up. It's not easy, but relatively easy. And then a language that has a significant amount of population that speaks it. So Spanish was the chosen one, basically.
I see. My first thought would maybe be, because it's a very impressive journey. It's like across different continents, crossing the sea multiple times, and it's super cool. But from the US and then to Europe, and then from Europe to Dubai, and then back to Asia, has it been like always for career purposes, or has it been like a urge to explore and to try out different places to live? If that question makes sense.
I think if strictly speaking, most of them are because of the urge to explore and adventures and to live. And then I figured out like either to study or to work. How does it work? So that's more of that. And I really think when you move in a very different age, like different life stages, it really makes a lot of difference. Like this time when I moved to Spain, I already noticed it's getting harder and harder for me to like immerse myself or like integrate. And then when I was younger, I guess it's more natural. And when you're studying, it's very different. Your environment is different. People in your surroundings are already naturally different, right? That's something interesting to think about. Like it goes back to the reverse culture shock. When I went back to Taiwan, first, I didn't grow up in Taiwan, so I didn't have a lot of connections with the people in my age. What they share in their childhood is not what I experienced. Yeah. Then what I know about the market, I basically am new in the market, right? Then I'm at the stage of being a young adult. So it's like, okay, people kind of have their lives already. It's like an expat, but luckily you have connections, you have family, you know some people, you speak the language. But it's also like a readaptation to the society again, right?
What would you say were the biggest things that shocked you when you moved back to Taiwan after all these years? Was there something that was like really shocking for you, but that you couldn't grasp your mind around almost? Or
it's been a while now, so like concrete example is probably hard, but like back then, I think first of all you need to re-pick up all the slangs, right? Because I speak obviously native level. So people don't think about that where I'm from, like my background and my upbringing. And then they will naturally just speak to me like anyone. But I was like, but what does that mean, being an ant? Like, oh, I'm an ant. I'm like, what do you mean you're being an ant? It just means they have a sweet tooth. But like that's the kind of things that they do. And I was like, what are you talking about? Or like a lot of things that they share. I'm just like, oh, but something basic that you don't even think about. How does the school system work in Taiwan? I have a clue, but I don't have no idea, right? Or the way, the attitude towards life and work, a career, it's very different.
I see. The reason I asked, I also had some personal.
Martin Rickard is been raising his hand.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. Continue, Martin. Go ahead. Continue. I'm thinking about
No,
raising
I
the
just
hand so I don't interrupt.
no
But
worries, no
continue.
worries. I noticed some culture shocks I've also had, going back to Sweden, where I'm originally from. It could be super small things. Like I'm still, keeping the time here, even though I'm in Spain. I'm still eating very early during the days, but there are some things that you kind of adapt to, and that becomes a little bit of a shock. For example, here in Spain, and I guess also in larger parts of Europe, they use WhatsApp. That's like the main communication tool. But when I go back to Sweden, no one is using WhatsApp. You cannot connect with anyone on WhatsApp. It's like Snapchat for some reason, at least for the people in my
Really?
age. So it becomes like a shock. And now sometimes when me and Rickard are communicating with each other, we're sometimes using WhatsApp because we are used to it from living abroad. We use Snapchat, we use Messenger, we use SMS, we use Instagram. So it becomes like a mix of everything.
So do you have a different channel for different topics? Like WhatsApp
Um,
for work, Snapchat for life, and the Instagram for family, and Facebook for, I don't know.
Yeah.
Facebook for family. That's like where you have the family group chats.
Okay.
WhatsApp you don't use in Sweden. Snapchat is for maybe friends and like casual daily conversations. And then Instagram is like a complement for everything, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think we use it in that way, yeah, between us. Like, for example, maybe a funny reel is sent over Insta. And if there is something maybe urgent or important, it's WhatsApp or a normal text message. If it's something fun or quick, it can be Snapchat. And like Martin said, Messenger on Facebook is more on family things, group chats and stuff.
Right.
So we have different channels, but I think sometimes we forget in what channel we are communicating. So then it starts to text about the work on Snapchat, or then suddenly a funny joke on WhatsApp. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
But how long
It
have
is,
you
it
been
is.
living abroad outside of Sweden?
Yeah,
Both
for
of you.
me, so I kind of moved just in the Nordics. So I live in Oslo now in Norway, and I've been there the last 16 years. And for the last 5 years, I have also had a place in Spain, in Malaga. So I go between Norway and Spain.
Oh,
Yeah.
what made you decide on this lifestyle?
I think like the job itself was more Norway to start in the recruitment industry and also play a sport called bandy in that country. So I wanted to test and explore a different country. And then I got stuck in the country because of job and private. And I also like it there in Norway, but I've always missed the part of the South Europe. I'm a more South European person, I think, with the lifestyle outside, the food culture, the social aspect of it. Also love to be close to the ocean, in the sun. I think I'm a more like Southern culture person in a way, but I have my life set in the north. Martin, you have lived almost all your adult life abroad, except a year in Sweden.
Yeah. Well, since I was 19, so 6 years now. But first I was living on in Cyprus. You say on or in Cyprus? I don't know. It's an island, but also a country. But yeah, so Cyprus, it was like a mix of maybe Europe and the Balkans and Greek culture in a mix with Middle Eastern cultures. It's been under British rule, Greek rule. You have the Turkish part of it. So it's very mixed cultures there as well, which was quite fun. So yeah, that was nice.
What was your motivation to relocate there, by the way?
It was not a long-term thing. It was more curiosity to experience something new. I thought it was going to be for short term. I remember when I arrived on Cyprus, it was like, okay, I'm going to stay here for 6 months, but that's it. Then I'm going to go back. But now here I am still abroad 6 years later, but in a different country. So it wasn't the plan at all. It just happened to suit me well. And I think that when you move abroad once, it unlocks a new mindset. And it's so much easier than to relocate to a new country. I don't know if you also share that kind of experience from the times you've been moving, Sharon.
As I was mentioning a little bit before, I think once you get older and you're in different life stages, you are more intentional with your moves, right? Because you have more responsibilities, you know yourself better, you know your priorities, you have different conditions, you have things that you cannot compromise, right? It's almost like dating. Almost everything is like dating. It's like the places you live, the people you recruit, the company you want to join, everything is like that, right? You need to know
True.
yourself first, know your priorities, and have that intention, and then you kind of like make your choices. So for me, I probably wouldn't want to move to a country that's super super cold, but am I open to it if there's the right conditions? Maybe I'm willing to compromise on the weather. maybe.
Mm.
Like whether it's not like super on top of my list, like it's important, but it's not like, oh my god, if there's no sun, I don't want it at all.
Yeah.
It's not like that for me. Yeah, but like people
What
should be
is on
nice.
top
Interesting.
of
Sure, I don't want a place that people are nasty to me. So yeah.
what is on top of
Sorry.
your list then when you make a decision, Sharon, you think today? If it's not the weather.
I think career opportunities is definitely important. I'm quite career driven. I think that's very important. So I wouldn't go to a rural area of an island. I mean, nothing
Mm.
wrong with that. Probably great for vacation, but career wise, it's like unless I'm gonna do some like groundbreaking, innovative startup in a rural setting somehow, that's probably not my place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if Norway,
See,
for
see.
example, would open up like the most interesting job opportunity, could you then consider the job over the weather?
I see you're offering me a job already, right? I
I'm not
mean,
in fintech.
I think I'll be open to it. I've been to Norway. I kind of liked it. I've been to Sweden. I kind of like it, but I don't know. Like I think it would at least take me another trip to like really reassess the whole thing, because the first time I went there
Mm.
was like more than 10 years ago. And then so now I'm in a different mindset, a different setup now. I know myself much better than 10 years ago. I think it's worth another visit before I make that assessment, right? So yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I think I'm open.
Something we have discussed also, me and Rickard, in earlier episodes, but I've also had, I think it's a topic that comes up with most of the expat friends that I have, is that, the expat life, it's not always a dance of roses. It comes with both the highs and the lows sometimes.
Yeah.
What is your kind of like take on that? What do you think has been the most challenging, changing from country to country and continent to continent?
I think the highs, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm from Taiwan or Asia or like the US kind of, there's always that a little bit of a superficial element of like, oh, so cool, you can do this, wow, like a bit
Mm.
of a glam, right? It's a bit glamorous somehow. But like a lot of people don't think about the sacrifices behind it. I mean, it's a compromise that we chose, yeah? But
Mm.
it's like the downside of it is like you need to restart your life. You need to figure out administrative things. Like, come on, in Spain, that's like really not fun at all.
Yeah. Don't tell me more
And
about it.
yeah, it's like, oh my god, I don't speak the language, don't give a shit, and all these things. It's like, oh my god, it's so difficult. Remaking new friends. Positive side is that you have the chance to be a new self that you weren't before, right? But the
Mm.
negative side is that you have to rebuild a relationship. You have to refine a person that really connects, that you're really comfortable with somehow. And again, once you get older, you have more conditions, non-compromises, and things gets harder. Everything's like dating, just like that. And then it's like you need to find your new space in a career and professional setting. It's like,
Mm.
okay, maybe in my case would be like HR. HR sounds a very transferable skill, right? You deal with people,
Mm.
you have to take care of them. There's employee journey, whichever company in wherever part of the world. But like people forgot about, wait, but there's labor laws, right? There's labor laws in
Mm.
every country. There's different cultural practices. They are unwritten rules that you don't know, especially when you're dealing with people. There's certain cultural things that you don't do. And then
Yeah.
in the new country, maybe you actually should do. I mean,
Mm.
these little things. Like one little thing I don't know if you noticed, but it's like I am like readapting myself to do it, is to say hello to people when you pass by. Like,
Yeah.
because in Taiwan, that's not what we do. Like we just kind of, you exist, you're right there. Okay, we move on. But like
I
here,
see.
people say, hola, 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 hello, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Good morning. And I'm like, okay, yes, that's right. It's as basic as that. You have to like re-observe and re-adopt
Mm.
and really like remember and start doing it, right? Because otherwise I stay as the weirdo in the
Mm.
office that, oh, that Asian girl doesn't say hi to people. So rude. It's like, no, I'm just
Mm.
not used to it.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
I see. No, but that must be a big thing, because like it's such a daily, like reoccurring thing that people always expect you to greet them and so on. So I can imagine if that's not something that's part of your own culture, that it becomes like, maybe easy to forget.
Yeah, very easy to forget actually. Yeah.
It confirms, like Martin and myself have talked about it in some episodes, how it is to move abroad, like almost like a starter pack kind of thing you need to have with you, and especially when it comes to different cultures and maybe some shocks. And I think this is kind of, you explain it in a very good way, it kind of confirmed things we have talked about. But I think the nice thing also with this, when we are expats moving together and start to work together in the companies in Barcelona and start to hang out, is that we create this kind of diversity, like you said. Like you described maybe how a Taiwanese person is towards a Spanish or a Swedish or a, I don't know, Greek. So like all those people meeting and like bringing those different cultures and start to work together with different diversities, but at the same time finding it in the same company culture, for example, or in the same friend gang or whatever. Like those things are pretty cool, to be honest. And that is what you get when you work to a more bigger and more international hub.
Yeah, it's like any addiction. You love it, there's a great side about it, and that's why you love it and you get addicted to it. However, there's always a downside to an addiction, right? So it's like, oh my God, you have to find the right way and the right approach and then the right gang, community, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
You need to adapt.
Do you think that the expat life and the habit of what you described, you know, moving, starting up a new life, dealing with new cultures, do you think it's something that has also given you skills in your profession as within HR and talent acquisition? Do you have anything in mind there that, you know, this is something that I actually taught from my expat life?
I need to think about how to phrase it. Definitely makes me more open-minded, but I don't want to say it in a very cliche way. Oh, you work with international people, you must be like open-minded. No, I want to go another layer of this because think about it. You know, there's always this stereotype. Oh, people from that area or that country must be like this. It's very common. This is the standard. This is their culture. They behave like this. They value this. They behave this way. This is very common, right? Like, not like we like to generalize, not like we like to stereotype people, but it kind of becomes this way. And especially you are exposed in this kind of international environment and you're like, oh, another confirmation. Oh, another confirmation. But I want to go to the point when you start meeting all these people and you start having all this confirmation and this confirmation, you realize really there's no point of stereotyping people because there's all kinds of people in coming from different backgrounds, right? Within itself, it's not just because you know, people in Cyprus behave this way and then people in Sweden behave this way and this is how they are. It's like the next step is to undo all these things, which makes you even more open-minded. I don't know if I'm making sense. Do I make sense? It's like because you
I think
meet
it does.
yeah, and I think people don't usually realize to that point, right? Because people would think like, oh, you have such an expat life, you live everywhere. So what do you think of people coming from America? What do you think of people coming from Spain? And then it's like, yeah, but like essentially people are people and then there's good and bad people coming from each places, right?
No, I think that's right. Like you kind of get better at reading people for maybe who they are and their, you know, personality and attributes rather than maybe the culture they're coming from. Because if I thought, oh, but in Sweden we are like this and in Germany we are like that, but then I meet a Swede and a German who is kind of the same, and I think that's definitely something that can help in like talent acquisition and recruitment and sales and all these sort of like people-facing professions.
Yeah, you have a formula, that's it, a formula in the back of your head because you kind of are experienced. At the same time, because you have experience, you know how to unformula it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. One other thing I think that we all got here in this call, and I think especially you, Sharon, is that when you have to move and adapt to a new city and country and you need to do all these administrative things, there's so much problem solving to it that you just need to be like, okay, I can't be anxious and think too much about it. I just need to get it done. And at least for me, I've gotten a lot of my sort of, how do you want to say it, doer instinct from making the move abroad, that I become way more pragmatic in my way of acting, if that makes sense. I don't overthink everything all the time. I know, okay, I'm going to be fine. I just need to get through this phase, for example, and I need to solve this problem and then it will be fine. That's something I noticed at least.
One step at a time. Really, it's like take a deep breath, this step now, and then they will tell me what's the next step. And then I will be surprisingly finding out there's actually another step, but everything will be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. But how do you choose the right country then? This stereotype question, like how is it to live in America? What was the best with Dubai? How do you think you choose the right country for yourself? Like based on what you have seen, have you seen any clear like paths of how people are choosing?
But it would be like, first, like, are there career opportunities, right? Then second, it would be like, what kind of industries are they more prominent in? That's probably going to be the likelihood of me having an
Mm.
opportunity. Is that something I can, accept? I need to work in an international environment. It doesn't matter where I go, I will choose a company that has at least, I don't know, 5 nationalities working there.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's a must, right? Then it's about the people, the community. Are people more open? Are they tend to be more close? If so, are there kind of like community building events? Is the city or the place lively somehow? Do I know someone there? Do I know someone from there? Obviously, like, if I have a partner, that would be like another decision making
Mm.
criteria, right? So that's all something to take into consideration. And that's another thing. Like, once you get older, you have more responsibilities and you have more conditions and you have things you cannot compromise, and there are things that you cannot do much about it. If my partner today
Yep.
say, "Nope, we're not moving to Oslo," I'm like, "Okay, I guess we're not." So yeah,
Yeah.
it will depend a lot.
But who do you think choose to move to, for example, Dubai then? Like in general, like how do you think people choose Dubai?
Whoa, I have so much to say about that one. And so basically, first of all, I think definitely the glam. Wow, Dubai. Wow, a lot of
Mm.
money. Blah blah blah. Okay. Then second is people doing business tax free, and then people coming from heavy taxing countries. They will find that very attractive. And then it's people like realizing there's actually a lot of opportunities. I think that's also there. I was there almost for 4 years, but it was like 2013 to 2017, so almost four
Okay.
years. During that time, I find Dubai as the new American dream. Okay, that it's not American, obviously, but it's like, people having this idea. If you work hard, if you try your best, you will have an opportunity, you'll find your way and you'll be
Mm.
successful.
You can
That
make
was the
it, kind
back
of.
in the days, like my parents' generation of like, America is the place. But at that time when I was in Dubai, I feel like Dubai was that new place, because nowadays, if you want to go work in the US or the immigration, it's not so easy. But if you go to Dubai, it's like 80 more than 80% of people there are from outside of Dubai, right? Outside of
Mm.
UAE. And so that's like the new promised land for many people, or people coming from underprivileged conditions kind of find their way to have another chance, to have a dream, to have a success, whatever it means to be successful.
Mm.
That's how I see it, because I also meet people who come from, a small village in India, making 900 dirham a month, feeding his entire village. But for him, that's a
Mm.
great opportunity. And I was like, oh my god, like, it's a world that forces me out of a bubble, right?
Mm.
Like, but there are people who manage to go to Dubai and manage to stay within the glamorous bubble, and they're in, and they probably would never encounter someone like this. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I come here to represent my village and to feed every mouth.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Puts up perspective on things. I didn't think about that. That obviously it's probably for different reasons. Like you have the people who want to go and set up tax-free businesses, and you have the people going there to, make it and make a living for their family or village in that case.
Yeah, no, it's real. And I because I work in human resources, so employees really come for help. And when you're all expat, there's no one way of doing things, and then there's no one standard behavior, and common sense is no longer common sense, because your common sense is not my common sense, and everybody's common sense is different, because you all come from different background. And I think a lot of people don't realize common sense is something that's like upbringing, culture, country, education. It's all
Mm.
these things that becomes a common sense. It's not just because you go to a place, you work, and this is the common sense. It actually doesn't work this way, because I actually encounter a colleague who is actually illiterate. And they come
Mm.
to the HR office, and then they're like, "Can you help me to fill out my vacation form?" Because he cannot read. Also, it's another language, right? It's in English, and they
Yeah.
probably speak, I don't know,
Mhm.
Hindi or something. I don't know.
Mm.
It's been a while. But this is the kind of situation that could happen.
No, but very interesting. I assume that then you have your own maybe clear opinions before you maybe try it out or before you have been in a place yourself, because maybe for moving to Norway, it's maybe for a work-life balance opportunity. People think that you can earn good money and you can work shorter weeks and you're close to the forest and you can have your outdoor life and more private life, and you have 12 months of maternity paternity cover when you have kids, and there's so many other things that you maybe put into consideration if you choose Norway, for example, over say Dubai.
Yeah.
It's not to set up a tax-free business in Norway. That's
It's
at least
really
for
about
sure.
your priorities, right? At the time I
Yeah.
was very young. I went to Dubai because it was an adventure for me,
Mm.
right? But nowadays, if you want me to go back to Dubai, I'll be like, okay, first of all, how much are you paying me? Because I need to make sure I can maintain my current life standard. And in Dubai, it's like a triple of what I need to pay to maintain my same
Mm.
life standard here, right? First, what are you paying me? Second, what would I be doing? Third, are you an ethical employer? Fourth, what kind of colleagues will I be working with? Because it can be anyone and it could be no one. Like you now, you know better, but like back then it was an adventure. Nowadays it's intentional, right? Different life
Mm.
stages.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because
Well, cool.
back then I wouldn't care about the maternity care in Norway. I would be like,
Yeah.
whatever. Like too
Mm.
young to care about that, not my priority. But nowadays I'll be like, maybe I should think about this. Maybe it's a good option. Right.
Mm. I see. I see. One question I have regarding that, and maybe then more connected to the profession that both we do, but that you do at seQura today, do you also hire relocators to who moves to Barcelona?
We do, but very, very, very rarely. Like a very
Okay.
specific profile, very specific seniority. Maybe we'll
Mm.
relocate them, or maybe they are new in the market. That's okay, but it really
Mm.
depends on the profile that is in demand.
All right. So it's more like you want people who have settled and who already has like a stable
Right.
situation in Barcelona. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're a hybrid model, so that is something to be considered as well, right? Like if you hate
Yeah.
Barcelona, maybe this job is really just not for you.
No, that's always a risk when you hire someone and you relocate them. Then there's two factors suddenly. It's not, okay, will I like this job and will we like this colleague? It's more like you have that second aspect, which is just as big, if not bigger. Does the person actually want to live here, or is it that, adventurous young impulse that they just want to go there?
I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, I want a remote job." I'm like, "Remote job is great, but again, it depends on what is the situation, right?" Because I would say if you are first starting off in the city, a hybrid job is actually not that bad because
No, no.
you have a first entering of the community, of the local life, of your colleagues, people who already know the city, the surrounding, how things navigate. Like it's less effort as opposed like you're like working from home remotely and then you try to find time, find motivation, find energy after you working from home and go out, meet people, attending events.
Mm.
It's very different. I think a lot of people actually forget about it, and then I when I remind them, like, it's a good start with a hybrid setup because
Yeah.
you are already settling in, while you
Mm.
work. Yeah.
Exactly. No, but also, like, I'm not a psychologist here like you have studied, but it must be for the mental well-being as well. I'm thinking like we saw a lot of people who got depression and stuff during COVID because it was only homework and so on. And I don't know if it's maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think that it's actually crucial for your well-being and daily well-being to actually see someone in real life and have a presence, someone to chat with.
Yeah, I think it's important that you manage to have different circles, right? For professional, for private, for
Mm.
personal, for friends, for I don't know, for hobbies, for volunteer communities. I don't know, but like I think all of us are like so 360
Mm.
degree. You have all different needs, and you really need to be able to find that different niche of yours, right?
What do you think has
Cool.
been the most challenging market to recruit for now that you've been doing it in a lot of different countries?
I feel like it's actually a lot to do with the industry and the company,
Okay,
right? Yeah, I
rather
I
than
think
the geographical market.
Yeah, I think so because there's talents everywhere, and then I think I would, since I'm a career person, I think it's it's quite important for me to be in kind of a city setting, or at least to be close, and then that usually means there's talent pool. But I think it's more about the industry. It's about the company, like their hiring philosophy, hiring budget sometimes is company culture, then the industry, how mature it is within the market, and then what kind of business we do, what kind of talents we need. Because if you do hospitality in Dubai, is very different than doing hospitality in Taiwan, right? The level of maturity of the market is very different. So I think it's about that.
Sharon, can I ask, like we are a recruitment company, we do recruitment for other firms or companies all around the world. And for example, we recruit people for the Nordic market, people that covers the Nordic market for companies in Barcelona, or we go out and headhunt a sales manager or a marketing director for a company like yours, for example. So a lot of our work is like headhunting people based on specific skills and requirements that you have as a client. And we represent you. And then in some cases, we also represent the candidate the other way around back to the company and almost act like a sports agent for the candidates. What do you think, based on this small introduction, but is the biggest difference between our job and the job you are doing with, say, in-house recruiting and recruiting for your own firm in a way?
I think you briefly touch on something quite key, and I think if you're not thinking clear enough, you kind of missed it. Is that you mentioned, oh, we go headhunt people of different places, different professionals based on their skill set. But when you are in-house person, it's not just about skill set, it's about fit, culture, right? Mentality, values, missions. How are they with their team? Chemistry between hiring managers. I know that's probably not the most scientific thing, and that's probably not the most objective, but that's like, be honest, that happens still quite often and everywhere. And so that's something, unfortunately, external support cannot see and most likely don't understand. The good ones will care. The bad ones will just be like, here's your talent, here's the skill set, it checks all the boxes, here you go, thank you so much, I bill you, right? But the ones that goes a bit deeper, they would be like, hey, what do you think about with the team? Maybe ask a bit more probing questions about how to find the right kind of a personality to fit the culture, maybe. But I think that's already very different. I kind of pride myself being an in-house recruiter, no offense to any external. It's just like I see the difference. And then because I have the background in overall 360 HR, I think I see things in a more overview, right? Like I will care about things like, well, if you come in with a vacation planned, will you actually accrue enough vacation at that point? This is something I will care about because he or she will be my future colleague. And this is a theme that I will have to explain to my colleague who's handling this aspect, the payroll, the operations, right, within the HR department. But I don't ever see any recruiter externally care about anything like this.
But it's interesting, and it's like you have a clear touch point there. And I think also the better you get to know your clients from our end, the better we can kind of represent them. And like you said, it's crucial for us to know, like, how big is the team? Who are you reporting to? What is maybe the goals of the company? So like you said, we can touch on so many clear points as possible also when we check out the skill set, but also the personal skills of the candidate and also maybe their motivation and their background. And like you said, I think this is of course the biggest difference because you have all that knowledge sitting in-house and doing this daily, and you're representing the firm and you are connected with the different departments and the different hiring managers, so you know them. So yeah, that is the fair point and interesting one to maybe learn even more about as an external partner. Like, how can you really get to know your client into the deep? Because of course, going out and visit them for 30 minutes up to an hour can help in one way, but it will not give you the full perspective maybe.
No, and a lot of things is like a daily collaboration, conversation, right? It's like, oh, you talk to this hiring manager more often, so you obviously know their situation better, their team situation better, the challenges they're currently facing. This in this aspect, even in-house recruiter is the same. It's like if you don't make time to get to know your hiring managers, you are also not providing the most in-depth support possible, right? So but then I imagine it's even harder for external recruiters, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we succeed the best with some of the clients we work with, when we have that direct line to the hiring manager. And then we are working more as an extension to the team of the internal TA rather than like a competitor, but we are like a collaboration, and we also have a direct line with the hiring manager. That's when we notice we understand this, culture fit and so on. Because
Mm.
that's, of course, the more senior and complex the roles get, that's when that becomes more important also.
Yeah. And like you said, Martin, I think also like one strength I see we have as an external partner for a company, as a recruitment agency, is the kind of active part. We do outreach to passive candidates, so we can kind of caught an interest with someone that is not applying directly. And so we kind of link companies with those passive candidates. And I think that is one of our strengths in a way. And we can also find them outside of Barcelona. We search in whole Spain, the whole Europe, for example, in our research.
I think this is something worth a little discussion on. Okay. Because since I started in a startup environment, I have never ever stopped reaching out to people outside of the inbound. I always do outbound as well, you know? But like I think a lot of people think, you're in-house, you sit there, you screen application, the inbound ones, and then you chill. That has not been my life for the last I don't know how many years. Okay. So I'm sorry, it's not just you. At the same time, I understand, like I can imagine for you, this is your focus. You're building networks. This is what you do all day. You reach out to different companies, different talents, different geographical vision, and then you build a pipeline, you have a CRM, you have a database and everything. And this is something that I have to admit, as an in-house, we tend to lack because of the other things that we have to care about. Right?
Mm,
Like in my case, you'll be like, okay, next employer branding initiatives. How do we do this? How do we do that? How do we prepare for the next event? What about the next campaign? And then I have like internal processes and programs to design. So I
mm,
can't be there just focusing on, wait a minute, now this company is having a layoff. Let's reach out to every single person and let's talk to them, build a
mm,
relationship and see what can I offer. I also don't have that variety of offerings, right? Because I'm only representing one company. So if I don't have sales, I don't have sales. If I don't have marketing, I don't have marketing. It's like, okay, thank you so much. Chelsito, talk to you in maybe 1 year, maybe. And
yeah,
then
true.
your life get caught up and then you forget that you have to, warm relationship. And this is something, yes, we are kind of lacking as in-house recruiters.
It's good that we live in a world where both internal and external can exist. So that's cool.
No, it's necessary. It's
Nice.
necessary.
But yeah, it's also not only like Rika described, we also usually have a portfolio. I think we have 400 clients today, and it's a lot of different industries, from real estate to SaaS and fintech and BPOs and IT. But we're not the only ones, because I understand you have also been, touching on different industries. You mentioned hospitality in Dubai, and you mentioned in fintech now in Barcelona. But what are the other industries you've also been working in?
So I was working in a startup that has also like retail, and they want to do like kind of like a nail salon thing. They do import and export businesses, and you
Mm,
start thinking things that you didn't think about, because importing a luggage is not the same as importing cheese, and it's very different actually. Little things like this you never thought about, but it's actually
mm,
make a difference. Or I was in martech, ad tech for D2C, influencer marketing. So I
mm,
think that helped, like, in order to do my job well, I have to understand a little bit more of the industry and obviously my colleagues, what they are doing, what's their job like. And then
mm,
because of that, maybe that helps me a little bit on the employer branding side that I have to do today. But
mm,
it's not because I was doing employer branding for the last 10 years. It's because, like, I know what I need to do as a TA, but
mm,
at the same time, I have a little bit concept from my background in martech companies, and then
mm.
that's kind of how I evolve into this position today.
Yeah.
So it's not like a very direct thing, like a TA EB for the 10 years, and then now I'm here. No,
Yeah,
yeah.
I see. I see. No, but you must have learned, like you say, how to collaborate with different internal stakeholders, and that helps you now in the employer branding responsibilities that you have.
Yeah, because when I was in this company, I had to literally talk to every single colleague
Mm,
possible to be like, what is your day to day like? What do you mean this profile doesn't work? What kind of
mm,
profile do you actually want? What is missing? What is your work A to Z look like, right? How do you, propose a case, and how do you get one, and how do you run one? How do you coordinate with all these other different agencies, influencers, or, products, I don't know, suppliers, and all these things, like little things you have to kind of learn. It's the only way to really fastest to catch up, to understand what is your environment, and then to do your job better, right?
Exactly. That's a little bit how we've been working, because I've been degree from marketing,
Yeah,
where it's something that, it's not related to recruitment really, but it gives you an idea of how to attract people online.
yeah,
So it goes very much hand in hand. And I think
yeah,
internally, what we also see in our company is that we have people who come here without experience and they are starting in agency recruitment. And some of them, they are really into that sales aspect of the job, the reach out, the business development,
yeah,
pitching and convincing and so on. So
yeah,
they become salespeople and they move on to account executive positions for big tech companies. But then we also have people who, they start with us internally and then they go into maybe more HR coordination, HR administration, because
yeah,
that's what they find interesting about recruitment. And then you have
right.
people now also recently who are moving into marketing and employer branding, because they have learned how to advertise online, make a strategy for attracting people online. So it's funny how the things goes hand in hand in a way.
And I'm curious, how do you guys like serve all these clients from different industries and very different backgrounds? I imagine you have to like navigate startup and corporate, like you said, the real estate to, I don't know, fintech. And how
Mm.
do you usually catch up so quick?
Oof.
Share some
Yeah,
secrets.
I think, I don't know, I can try to start to answer. It's a very difficult thing to answer, but we are like a boutique recruitment firm. So we've always had in the DNA and sort of like a core value to stay adaptable.
Okay.
And sometimes when we get a new role for a client, for example, let's say the last 2 months, I've worked on a project within private banking in Luxembourg, which is completely new, completely different. But then for me, it's not about learning the role only and the key requirements of the role. Then it's for me about learning the industry. So I found myself researching, okay, what is a ultra high net worth individual? What are the key terms that they use in this industry? What is the difference between a private banker and a client relationship manager? We need to learn the industry rather than the profile, maybe. And I think our size also has been the strength, because we haven't been like specialized. Okay, this team, you only do SaaS recruitment. This team, you only do real estate recruitment. We've always been able to adapt and learn quickly about a new industry, for example.
Exactly. Yeah, but Martin touched on everything there. And I think based on our niche is like started with language recruitment in general. It was about moving people. And I think that also helped us into certain industries that then like kind of kick on like a new kind of like focus internally, and then people become specialists internally. And I think our strength as a company is that we can keep the same point of contact for a client, even if you then connect the client with different recruiters within our organization. So for example, say that we started to recruit Norwegian speakers to Klarna in Stockholm, as an example, and then we did a Finnish SEO for Trustly. At some point, then we were in the finance industry and fintech
Mm,
industry because we recruited language speakers for them. And then after some time, they maybe needed software developers. And then we had the tech recruiters internally that could help them with the tech recruitment, as an example. And then we had both the language, then we had the tech, and then we had the industry, all connected in different specializations.
very interesting.
What is your reflections after today, being in a pod?
I don't know. I'm just trying to answer the questions. But I am being very authentic. I learn to be as authentic as I can in every setting possible, because I had an experience. This is just a little anecdote that I don't know if it's even interesting, but I remember I was job hunting. That was a job hunting phase of my life. And I went to an interview. I was trying to be the most corporate person possible with all my answers, demeanors, behaviors, responses. And then at one point I was talking to, he's kind of my mentor, he's from Germany. And then I was like sharing this experience with him, and he was like, never try to fake yourself. I'm like, calm down, I'm trying to get a job, okay? And then like, but like in the end it was like, kind of like, it makes sense, because what's the point of faking yourself and in the end just suffer through something that you were not actually hired for. Like, does that make sense? Because you were
Yeah, yeah.
hired for the image that you're not. And then in the end, it's a long-term thing. Are you gonna just plan on faking yourself along all this way? Like, So that was a lesson, basically. I was like, okay, just try to be myself, and then if accept it, accept it. Not accept it, Chalcito, we don't get along. That's it. Finished.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
I think that's such an underrated approach to have these days, because we also have been speaking regarding it a little bit when it comes to like adapting your CV with AI. Is that something you should or should not do? But when it comes to the extent that you are almost like sugarcoating something that you not are, and one day you're gonna sit in the chair and you're gonna do the job actually. So what's the point of faking it if you're not gonna be making it, if it makes sense, and you're not being yourself? You can't be a police officer and fake to be a doctor, for example. It's not working.
Fake it till you make it, though. So I don't know, because even before AI, you have to still somehow try to pitch yourself, right? Like you have to have that sales skill a little bit. So like, how far is AI taking this? That's something I still need to see. And then it's the funny thing, it's about the human trying to make AI happy, so you're adapting yourself to a AI friendly format, when you do the application and whatever. But then at the same time, it's like AI against AI, because the recruiter side is also using some kind of AI to like it. But then it's a human against AI, because the recruiter, being the human, is the one like, so how is this AI results telling me things? But it's really weird right now. I don't know. And I already seen postings about like looking for someone in recruitment space, actually, a leadership position, and saying like someone who is already experienced of knowing and identifying how to counter AI. You know what I'm saying? Like, because everybody's using AI, and then people are feeding things based on what AI likes, but then now you're hiring someone to really detect that and to really like counter attack this. I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's almost like a new market with new types of positions appearing. No one knows where it's gonna go. Everyone is just guessing. Everyone is clueless.
Yeah, everyone wants to talk about it, but there's usually no conclusion because no one really knows.
I think that's some great words to wrap up today's episode. But we're super happy that you wanted to join us here today, Sharon. We have had a lot of fun and gotten a lot of insights to your both work and personal journey. And we hope you have also had fun. Any final words from your side?
Yes. Well, thank you, Martin and Rika, for inviting me to be part of your podcast. This is my first time doing a podcast. I had a lot of fun. And I hope everyone who is listening, if you didn't learn anything, at least hopefully you have a little bit of a more insight. If none of that, I hope we managed to entertain you for the last hour. And I hope you enjoyed this episode somehow.
It was amazing, Sharon. Thank you so much. And
thank you so
have
much.
a good afternoon now.
You too. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, everyone.
Sharon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.